Hey, what's up, universe? It's 1:28 a.m. on technically Sunday, August 13th, 2023. Excuse me. Goodness. That was unbecoming to just start off that way, so I apologize. Trying to figure out like kind of where to start. I just shared a video that I saw on TikTok just now on my story. And I downloaded it, and these are the types of things that like I'm just going to download because you never know, and they may not be available. Yeah, the stuff that's going on in Hawaii, TikTok's really probably the best place to get information, in all honesty, to get it from like on the ground, like locals, and that kind of a thing. It's pretty incredible out there. And I spoke to my oldest son and learned that my one of my nieces was intending to go, not for helping out necessarily for that purpose, for what happened on August 8th. I'm not entirely sure what she was intending to go for. I'm just glad that she wasn't able to go in a way, just because it's a pretty big cluster out there. It's a real interesting occurrence out there because I haven't had the experience of living in a wildfire or having that type of exposure. Although, given my age, I've definitely seen footage and stuff like that of wildfires. And then my oldest son, having, going through fire science and, going through becoming a fireman and having that kind of education and background, and seeing this particular video that I shared on my story doesn't show it, but I have another video that I'll share from another local. The type of damage that's done to structures and the vehicles, there's just no way. There's just no way that this could be done by a natural occurrence in the sense of a wildfire or something like that. There's a lot of speculation on TikTok, and I'm definitely inclined to believe it, that now, to believe that it was they call them DEWs, direct energy weapons. Now, from who and for what purpose, that's completely open to speculation. It definitely, whatever caused it, we'll put it that way, even if it was not a DEW, this was not a natural fire. This was totally not a natural fire. The way that these vehicles were destroyed, the way the structures were destroyed, there's no way. There's no way. And so it's just a very interesting thing out there. There's just a lot going on in the world. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah, other than that, I mean, I know that there's a handful of things that I could probably go on about. I don't necessarily even know where to begin. Definitely the state of the world, the way things are feeling. I keep checking in with myself as I keep coming into more just information and just kind of the way people are, how do I want to say this? Reporting on stuff, I guess. It's a lot different now. The biggest difference between right now and when I was getting into research back when I said it, we'll say really 2008 to 2014 is when I really dug into everything. The difference between it now is that back then I was really getting into it. I was seeking it out, and I was looking at the people that were talking about geopolitical stuff, and I was talking about I was looking into, and I was just running into like economic people that studied economic history and financial history and money and this kind of a thing. So what I'm trying to get at is that it was definitely more around the experts and things like that back in that time frame, and the amount of just kind of everyday people talking about these things was a very small pool, and so it felt very isolating for me in that regard. And I think that's probably what fed my fear at the time. Is I was like, this stuff is real, but nobody outside of the experts seemed to be talking about it. Now it's everyday people that are talking about it, and there's a high level of comfort that I find from that, because well, one, I don't feel so alone, but two, the first step in acknowledging or changing anything is acknowledging that there's a problem, and being open to questioning the official narrative. And there's a lot of people that question official narratives, and that have the kind of distrust that I have around official narratives, because of all the reasons I've gone into in previous videos. There's just enough lies and bullshit from the past that is like, okay, whatever the official story is, it's not that. You can believe that right off the bat, pretty much, in my opinion. So a lot more people are open to interpret different interpretations, and doing their own research, and digging into things, and trusting everyday people's sources, because, I mean, especially with things like what's going on in Hawaii, like, those people, like, the locals are the ones there. They're the ones living it. There's no way that they have the means or the time or the incentive to alter the truth, you know what I mean? Whereas, the power structures, or the powers that be, do. They have incentives, they have the infrastructure, they have the means, they have the time and the manpower to create the narrative that they would like people to believe. And so it's a very, very different time right now for me to experience this kind of stuff than it was back then. And in a way, I'm hopeful. I still think there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. I still think that we will most likely experience some really big false narratives, and I still think that we'll probably experience attempts to shape our realities. I think there's things to come, is what I'm trying to get at. And for whatever purpose, I don't know. I don't get into the whys, because I don't know their intention. It's more of an intuitive feeling, and just kind of I feel like there's signposts, and it's just kind of like, this is the general direction that things are going, and because that's the general direction, there's most likely going to be more things that occur. Like the whole Project Bluebeam, this whole thing with the aliens, it kind of feels like they're boiling the frog a little bit. They've definitely been introducing this idea in various ways for a long time. But definitely what's been going on over the last few months is definitely a change of pace, and a change of how do I want to say, just a different shift, acknowledging such a thing is it's a change in the stance. And there's always a reason for that kind of stuff. There's a reason for everything, in my opinion. So I don't get into speculating what those reasons are. It's just, all right, again, it's a signpost. This is a general direction that we are going. What else is going to come out? And what are they going to say about it? What are they going to want us to believe? And it's not that everything they say is completely false. It's just that there's usually a lot more than meets the eye. There's usually a lot more below the surface. So all of that aside, just kind of hanging out. I actually didn't set up my laptop at all today. I did more or less took a break off that, and hung out with my youngest son for a while and played some card games with him at Hy-Vee, so that was fun. Hung out with my oldest son after he got off work, so that was cool. I will admit this on like a personal kind of a level. So, trying to think. Yesterday, so Hy-Vee, for those of you here in town, has a deal Monday through Friday that you can get half price appetizers from their Market Grill. And I allowed myself, I had $35. I found $1 on the ground. I looked around, there was like nobody to give this money to or to return it to its rightful owner. So the universe gifted me an extra $1, so I had $36. And I was getting hungry. This was probably like 5:30, so 6 o'clock was coming up, and protein. I was looking for some protein because I had those Pop-Tarts and other kind of stuff, and protein was sounding pretty good. So I allowed myself to get the barbecue chicken wings, the boneless chicken wings. I actually got a pretty generous portion and a couple slices of celery and a couple carrots. Man, that was delicious. And it was like under $4.50. That was an awesome deal. So I'm very grateful for that. And it was very fun to be very present with that meal. Like, I didn't get on my phone or anything. So every bite was just this being present with my food. And it was delicious. So I'm grateful for that. So today is the weekend, and so that deal isn't going on. And so I had it's like $30-ish, in my pocket. And I was looking around at the store, and, I could go over here to Dollar General. So I'm in the Walmart parking lot right now. Dollar General's right across the way. And the Hy-Vee's just down the street, not too far. So I was just evaluating my options, just to see, really looking for stuff that was high in protein. Because even when I was going to the gym, that's basically when I was changing my diet and, releasing weight. I know that things that are high in protein are really good at keeping, the hunger pains away. And so I was looking at maybe like a protein shake kind of a mix, and kind of putting money towards that, because that would give me a solid week, maybe a little bit more of substance, And so I was just, like I said, evaluating my options, and it was an interesting thing for me because, and I told both my kids this, because before, when I've been in this situation, there was always some form of it was a different kind of energy. It was a different type of support. Like I had access to a kitchen, even when I was living in a closet next to a furnace, I still had access to a kitchen. So like now, literally, I just have my car and the cash, and so the frame is a little bit different for me, and so I was just working with that sensation and that feeling of like, okay, like this is like right now, like this is kind of the last of my cash. There's things to consider. It was just kind of a different evaluation process, and I found that kind of interesting. I wasn't getting like overwhelmed or any anxiety around it, which I'm grateful for. And I'm just stating it primarily, for two reasons. One, because it was a different type of feeling, and second, because once things get down to it, you know what I mean? Like once there is nothing, it's interesting kind of what opens up, you know, as far as some people would be like, oh, you finally made a choice. And for me, it's always about the feeling. So, I think sometimes, and I've talked about this before, where contrast provides the mechanism for awareness, right? And so experiencing like $0, actually I've been totally down to $0 before, at least once. So I can't really say that I haven't been there, because I totally have absolutely been there. Although, did I have food when I came back? I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I think it doesn't matter. It's just a different type of a thing. So when I get down to it, it just makes me curious, is all, about the next things that are coming in, which I do believe that they're on their way. You know, the last couple of roles that I applied for, I have a different kind of feeling around those. I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. I know it's all gonna work out. So, and then just as an aside too, I'll just put it this way, like, back when I was at the house, this thought came up about, you know, releasing the car. Just energetically, because the car is part of a larger energetic process, and I was like, do I need to release this car as well? Now, I don't technically own the car. I don't have the title. You know, it's been written off by Toyota, but I don't have the title, so I can't legally sell it, as far as I'm aware, at least in the state of Kansas. I'm not sure if I can do that in Missouri. I was kind of looking into it, but I did take a look at, you know, junkyards and stuff like that, just to see. I didn't call anybody to see whether or not it would work out. But it was kind of funny, though, that one of these junkyards had like an online calculator, and I put in the make and the model, and they're like, oh, we'll give you $421 for it. And I'm like, okay, like, this car is the value of the car when I obtained it was much higher than that, obviously, and so it made me chuckle. And at the same time, I'm like, well, that's $420 that's not in my pocket right now. And when I release things, it's all about the energy anyway. It's not about it's about creating the space for something new to come in, and so the 400 and some odd bucks was like, you know, whatever. It humored me, but again, I don't even think I can do that. So, and then it comes down to as well, like, how would I travel? Where would I put my stuff? You know, there's a lot of questions, but it's just something I was entertaining. So, but yeah, and there's an interesting thing too, just to kind of like, sorry, random different. This is a shift here. Milo had turned me on, you know, he likes to show me funny TikToks, and there's this guy on TikTok, Farod, F-A-R-O-D, and he's got some funny TikToks on there, but he also goes live, right? He might even do it every day, where he's making his videos, and I caught him today, and I caught him yesterday. Yesterday was the first time that I caught him on like a live. I was just sitting there, and I was just captivated by this guy. He's 26, and I'm not sure where he lives, but he's 26, and just the stuff he was talking about as far as like his philosophies, his experience with exploring philosophies, the books that he's read, the way that he lives his life, the interpretations that he has. It was just, I'm that guy. This is me. Like, this is who I am, you know? And he got into like reading, you know, a book like on the live, and yeah, he's gone to he's gone to like a Christian church, he's gone to a mosque, so he's explored a lot of like religious philosophies, he's put like things into practice, and just the words he was using, there's his like the way he sees things, the way that he chooses to live. I'm like, this is me. I was just very surprised, because it felt like a big mirror, you know, and it was cool to watch this guy. And there was a lot of people, you know, like chatting in the chat. And anyway, it's just interesting. Like, I would totally do the same thing. I would go live on TikTok and just leave myself open and just kind of talk and just have a conversation with people, right? And I think on TikTok you have to have like 1,000 followers before you can do that. And I'm like, man, this silly barrier to entry, I think. But that's not really the main point. The main point is, yeah, I did not know, given his funny TikTok videos, I didn't know that he had these philosophies and that he lived his life the way that he lives his life. I didn't know that. And it's just really cool to connect with. And then, I don't know if I mentioned this or not. Like, I don't think I did. There was a dude who is 23, I think, and he's in North Carolina, and I don't know this guy's name, but he is homeless, living out of his car. And I was just flipping through TikTok, and this guy appeared on my feed, and I had to stop because I was like, holy shit, like, I had to look around for a second because I'm like, this guy almost looks like he's in the same parking lot. It's obviously not the same parking lot, but it looked very similar. And I was like, what? And then I listened to him for a while and found out that he's in a very similar living situation that I'm in, which I'll also say with Farad, like, he's had similar life experiences. He's like, yeah, I've been put out, you know, from my girlfriend's place, my mom's place, you know, like, friend's place. He's like, yeah, they've put me up, and then I've had to move on. He's like, I've lived out of my car, I've lived on, you know, all sorts of, like, he's like park benches. He's like, I've lived in all sorts of different situations. And I was just like, all of, like, Fraud's whole experience just really resonated with me, because I was like, man, dude, like, I get it. Like, I'm this guy, you know. And he's in a house now, I mean, like, or at least an apartment. He has shelter, and he's living with somebody. I'm not sure who. And so, the thing that kind of struck me a little bit is he's like, I still talk to my mom. He's like, you know, she kicked me out. He's like, I still talk to her. He's like, it's okay that she wants to, you know, she's got certain things, and he's like, I have certain things. I'm going to live my life a certain way. She's going to live her life a certain way. He's like, I'm not holding it against anybody, you know. And then he kind of spoke about, like, with his girlfriend, I don't know if his current or previous one, but he was like, he's like, yeah, he's like, I got kicked out of that place. And he's like, and I ain't mad at her. He's like, well, I was at the time. He's like, it took me a minute. He's like, I had to go through some stuff. He's like, but he's like, now he's like, we're cool. He's like, now he's like, I understand. He's like, everybody's got their own thing. And he's like, I got my own thing. And so he's just totally the same type of mental struggles, the same type of, like, growth process, and, like, the same conclusions and the philosophies. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this guy. So it was just pretty cool to run into him. So, and I've thought about that too here, just kind of reaching out to my mom, just to check in, you know, see how she's doing, and all of that. Because I didn't necessarily leave the conversation the best the last time we had a text exchange. She's the one that sent the last text, and then I didn't respond, so that's on me. So if you happen to be watching this, Mom, like, sorry about that. I think it might be starting to sprinkle. All right. It's a beautiful night tonight. I will say that. Gorgeous. Last night was very humid, very humid. I slept with the car on for about, well, actually I didn't hardly sleep at all last night. Goodness. I think I slept from about 4:30 to 6 in the morning, thereabouts. I had the car on to keep the air on for a little bit, And then, so yeah, it was humid yesterday, last night. Tonight, much better, much better. So I got really tired this afternoon at Hy-Vee, and I came back out. I was cold. I've learned this about my body. When I get super tired, like exhausted, my body, I get cold. It's interesting. And Hy-Vee can be chilly anyway, honestly. So I take my sweatshirt in there and I'll just wear it anyway. But I was getting chilly and just kind of tired and like ready to take a little bit of a nap. So I came out to my car, and it was like almost 100 degrees in my car, and it felt so good to just sit in my car. I think I had the windows down, and I just sat in the car and I just passed out. And then I woke up and I'm like kind of sweating, on my arms, and like I can feel the sweat on my sides, and I'm like, but it wasn't bothering me. I was just kind of like, man, I'm like, okay, I've been in here for a minute. It still feels good. I'm warm, but it feels good. And I was like, yeah, it would be good to take a shower. I keep in mind of like, the hygiene that I can, and how my personal aroma. I'm doing pretty good, honestly. And yeah, so that was a good time. I slept for just about 30 minutes, and then kind of cleaned myself up a little bit, and then went back inside into Hy-Vee. So I'm grateful to have Hy-Vee there because it's just real close to the boys. The library is good. Hy-Vee is actually just a little bit better for me, and Hy-Vee has food if I choose to partake. So. And there's a cat over here. When I was married to Angela, we had 2 cats, Jack and Titus. And Angela and I broke up in college, and a couple times, honestly. But when we got back together one time, she had this cat, Jack. And this cat right here, this cat looks just like Jack. Like, for real. And Jack's passed. He's no longer with us. So I didn't see this cat last night. So when I pulled in tonight, he was like literally right by this spot, and he's been checking me out. I took pictures of him. So I feel kind of, I feel blessed. I feel like there's some type of watchfulness in a way, that I don't know exactly. There's a connection with that. It feels. I'm grateful for that, because it's been a minute since I saw Jack, and when the last time I saw Jack, he was not in the best of health. He looked like he was, how cats can get pretty frail, and he was not in great health. This cat right here, he's walking right up to me. He's been checking me out. I half expect him to just jump in the car. You want to know the truth? I'll show him to you. Might as well, right? All right, here you go. You see him? Yeah, that looks like Jack, man. It looks a lot like Jack. There you go. Now the tail's the thing that doesn't look like Jack to me, but the rest of that, yeah, shoot, he might jump up on the hood. I don't know what he's gonna do, but he's been checking me out. All right, I've been talking for like 20 minutes or so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Just wanted to check in and say hey and let everybody know what's going on. All right, appreciate you guys. I love you, and yeah. All right, I'll talk to you later.